Welcome to our coverage of the Paris Olympic Games. To is men's qualifying, and it was obviously drama-free. Gymnastics is not a cruel and unusual sport at all. It was fine. Everything's fine. We have the U.S. women's team's lineups for Sunday's qualifications. And remember that episode, what we did about obscure rules and how it could cost you a medal? Well, one of those things happened today, and I'm going to tell you about it. And the First Lady was here in the arena today. Plus, I have lots to tell you about attending a neighborhood opening ceremonies party. All the details I'm going to tell you about it. Oh, so many feelings, Spencer. It is July 27th, and we're coming to you live from Paris, France. Welcome to the #1 gymnastics podcast in the galaxy. I'm Jessica, and I'm here with Spencer from the Balance Beam Situation. Welcome to all of our new listeners from around the world. We're so glad that you guys are here. If you're a Club Gym Nerd member, switch to your members only feed so that you can listen to the bonus discussion. Instructions are in the show notes. Don't forget, this Friday, August 2nd, 9 p.m. Paris time, noon Pacific time in the US. We're going to be talking about the Olympics with some very special guests. And part of the proceeds of this live show are also going to go to benefit the animals of Ukraine, and particularly the cats. And also, Henrietta Onodi just had a heart attack and is not doing well. And her sister put up a GoFundMe. So I feel like that's also a good cause that we can send a portion of the benefits from the live show to as well. So if you want to get a ticket and hang out with us and talk with some special guests, tickets are on sale now at GymCastic.com. So the biggest surprises of the day, huge shocker, Spencer.
I mean, there were several surprises today. I think the first one is that the Chinese men kind of forgot they were supposed to be bad in qualification. That's their whole thing. It's like, we don't take qualification that seriously because we're obviously going to make the team final. We kind of breeze through it, and then we bring it when the medals are on the line. But they were like, actually, we're kind of sick of losing to Japan. We would like to win a gold medal at the Olympics, so we're going to come out here and mostly hit really strong routines and qualified in first place.
Yeah, I was a little worried watching them today because we'll get into some specifics, but they were very hype. Like there was a lot of aggro, raw and up to win it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, you're not supposed to do that till later when you actually finish kicking everyone's ass. But as usual, Japan lulled China into a false sense of security by placing second.
You think that's what was happening here? So
yeah,
Japan
that's obviously
qualified in second, and we knew China and Japan were going to be 1-2. It was kind of what's the order going to be, and that's still where we are heading into the team finals. But I think China put it down in qualification that they should be considered the favorite based on what we saw from China versus Japan in qualification, particularly what we saw from Hashimoto. This was the big. I mean, I know he hasn't been at 100% heading into the Olympics, but he did not look at 100% today for Japan. And by that, I mean, he still qualified in third place to the all-around final because he's Hashimoto, but he had a fall on his high bar dismount. He was second among the all-arounders for Japan behind Oko Shinosuke. If Kaya had done the all-around, it would have been kind of interesting, another situation like that. But he's into the all-around final, but he was off to the side with the trainer several times. There was an extended close-up on the NBC broadcast of him getting an under boob massage for 10 minutes from the trainer at one point during the competition. So we know he was not at 100%. Another surprise to me, he didn't make any Apparatus finals. I would not have had that going into the competition, that Hashimoto didn't make any event finals. So some issues for Japan, but still qualified in second, had some really strong moments. Sugino was having the Olympics of his life. He was loving every second of every hit routine. Oka had a great day. So they had some real highlights as well.
Yeah, Sugino was also after every routine, going to the crowd, get on your feet. I did it. It was very NCAA. There were many NCAA moments tonight. But yeah, so the U.S. men took, who's qualified third? British, right?
Great Britain. The British qualified in third, which is very interesting because we had talked about, and we'll get to, to more details before, but we had talked about the British team selection and how they didn't select James Hall, an all-arounder who can give them a lot of event coverage. And we were talking about how there are some definite holes in these on certain events for the British team, and that could really hurt them in the team competition. Not necessarily untrue, because they were just like, yeah, we're going to count Jake Jarman's 12-9 on rings. We're going to have some lower high bar scores, and that's kind of what happened. But they hit well enough, they had some low 13s on high bar, but they were hit routines. They got through it. And the US, maybe the bronze medal favorite, at least heading into the Olympics, had issues, which we'll get into. So it ended up being a solid team performance in qualification for Great Britain, even with those holes that they knew about, we knew about, everyone knew about. They're there. You're going to count low scores here and there, but everyone had a good day overall.
Mm-hmm. And Ukraine had a really good day even though Kovtun
it started out, you were like, uh-oh, but it ended perfectly.
Yep. Kovtun had a very bad day. He had lots of falls. He was kind of like had a Brody Malone day and had a lot of falls. But Ukraine is in fourth, and I talked to Igor Radivlov about it, and he also said his family is good, his wife is good, everyone's okay in Ukraine. He's training in Cottbus in Germany, but he was very excited that his wife was going to be here soon. So, but he was like, he was like, we're just here to do our job. And I asked him like about the vibes of the team, because I was like, we have seen there be like not good vibes between the team, and there seemed to be some stuff going on about like who's training where, and they just did not work cohesive. And today it was like everybody was working like a well-oiled machine. Everybody was helping each other. Everyone had each other's backs. It was a totally different situation. And he was like, the team is good. The gymnastics is really hard. We're going to do our best. And he wasn't like committing to a medal, but I was like, Igor, you're in fourth. Come on. Kovtun hits, you're going to win a medal.
Yeah. On high bar, you were like, this might not go great for Ukraine. But by the time they were hitting those Dragulescus on vault, and then they had Vernayev and Kovtun on parallel bars, they were like, you know what? We have some pretty high scores on this team. And they ended up qualifying just a smidge ahead of the US. So Ukraine's in fourth and the US is in fifth.
Yep. And the U.S. men,
it was a day. It started out, it was interesting because it started out, even though Brody Malone fell on pommel horse in that first rotation, it was overall a successful rotation. They got that important hit from Steven Edorosic, huge score, advanced to the final. Rings was fine. Vault, a little iffy, but it was kind of like they're getting through, but it's okay. It's fine. And there weren't major issues, but then things kind of started to snowball, especially with then Brody Malone going to high bar and having 2 falls in that routine, having other mistakes on floor. It kind of suddenly the score was a lot lower than we thought it was going to be heading in, and a lot lower than this team's potential. And they'll know that heading into the team final that, they're in fifth, but they're very obvious places where they can gain points if they're on. And we'll have to see about Brody Malone, because he had a real struggle today. 4 falls over, or pommel horse fall, 2 high bar, floor.
I couldn't tell if he put
I couldn't tell either, but it was a low score. And just had an off day overall, did not advance to the all-around final. So Frederick Richard and Paul Judah advanced to the all-around final for the US. And that really was the factor, I think, most of all that changed the U.S. from what their scoring potential was to where they finished today. Was this team is very reliant on Brody Malone's scores, and he had a lot of misses. And Frederick Richard had a lot of iffy landings too, a lot of uncertain landings, so he didn't score near his potential as well. So a lot of room to gain if they're in position to do that for the team final.
And I asked Brody, like, how are you feeling? Is your body okay? Is your health okay? Are you sick? Like any of that? And he was like, no, I just had a bad day. That's all. He was excited. The first lady was here to greet the team. And Asher talked about that. And he said that they said that Brett told them, the high performance coordinator for men's told them, like, the first lady might be here. And then after they competed, they said, oh, she's, waiting for you guys. So they went in, and she said, Asher said that she just congratulated them, said, we're all behind you and we're supporting you. And then she said, thank your families from all of us. And and they were like, it was really cool. Like, we had no idea she was even planning to come. So I thought that was pretty cool.
And the flip side of the U.S. performance was Paul Judah, who had another one who was having the Olympics of his life. It's kind of like Japan and the U.S. sort of had similar dynamics, where you had some athletes who were like, "This is the best day I've ever had." Didn't Paul Judah literally say, like, "This is the best day of my life" in media?
He literally said that, and he cried and cried and cried. And I was like, thank God. I was telling Asher, because I was talking to Asher at the time, and he was kind of looking at me like, why are you like, I was like, Asher, I'm not laughing at you. I'm just smiling because Paul Judah cries as much as I do. And so I feel really seen right now. And Asher was like, okay.
Yeah,
yeah,
so
Nedorostic is tied for first on he's not really tied because of the FIG doesn't like ties, but he's tied for first going into Pommel Horse finals with Reese. Reese got a higher execution score, an 8-9. Not on
It should have
vault.
been a 9-6. That routine it was perfect. I kind of have an issue that he's only tied for first and not in first by 20 points, but also Nedorostic had a great routine, so he should also have a very high score.
Yeah, his routine was just remarkable, like both of them. But Reese's has the flattest hips in the entire world, and yeah, it was very, very good. Some other headlines before we get into the nitty gritty of what happened today. USAG told me today that Jade Carey's dad and coach Brian Carey is fine, and he will be here tomorrow. So that's excellent news. We got the lineups. As we suspected, Jade and Hesley are not doing the all-around.
Right,
and
so
then
was the U.S. ordering qualification that they'd have Simone Sooney and Jordan Childs in the all-around, and that's what they're doing. I do want to do a wellness check on you, Jessica, and how you're feeling about Italy's lineups and the beam situation.
Okay. I did not look because I was busy watching. If you say Georgia Villa is not in the beam lineup, I don't. No, stop it. Don't.
Okay, I won't say it, but that is the case.
I can't. This is too much for me right now.
I know.
It's been a long day. I can't process this until tomorrow. I'm sure they'll come to their senses, and somehow she will be in the lineup tomorrow. This is unfair. Life is unfair. I'm going to have to figure out a way to deal with this news. All right.
But speaking of Italy, I do want to ask you about Carlo Maccini and the high bar routine, because this was a fascinating situation. So he falls early, a pagan, right, is what he does early in his routine. Falls. He goes down, and we weren't really sure what was happening. So you talked to him in the mix zone, got the whole scoop, got all the deets on what happened with Carlo Maccini's high bar routine. So I want to know.
Yeah. So the thing that I wanted to ask him about was that he, if you're injured, you have some injury time until you have to, or you can be checked out by medical. But if you don't get up in 30 seconds or you don't, they will start the timer if you don't mount. The timer gets started. You have 30 seconds to get back on the bar, and he didn't get back up on the bar in time, and so he did get a 3/10 neutral deduction. He also got back up and did an amazing routine and stuck his dismount, and it was
also a wild routine. He was like, "I've already fallen. I don't know what's happening. I'm gonna go wild and crazy for the rest of this routine." It was maybe the most entertaining second half of a routine of the day.
Yes. And did his whole last giant with flexed feet and landed the whole thing with flexed feet. So we're going to get to that. So I asked him about that, and he said, my calves were cramping, and I just couldn't get them to stop cramping. And then, they started the timer, and he said, if the judges are ready, then I'm going to be ready. I'm going to do this routine. And he said, quote, "Okay, I'm at the Olympics. I want to show my Olympic spirit, and I'm going to finish my routine." So I think today, in my way, I won, actually. I love the crowd. It was amazing. I'm so grateful for them. He was super emotional. He was he was so excited to do this routine. He has a great bar routine, a high bar routine. And then I asked him, did your coach tell them he's cramping? He has an injury. Can you wait to start the timer? And he was he just kind of was no, I just had to go. They said to go, and I got up and went, and that was it. So I think the overall lesson from this is that Italy they're a soccer culture. And so what I think the lesson from here is that more flopping and rolling around would have convinced the judges maybe to not start the timer as soon.
I feel like he needed to sell it more, to be like, I'm super cramping. I can't. And that's what it looked like when he got back up to do his routine, because he did not have the form. The leg form was that is not happening right now. I'm going to catch my releases, but the legs were just that can't happen right now, which tracks with him being like, I was super cramping.
Yep. To do a giant with flex feet all around the bar is like a very difficult feat. So it was really hard for him, but he was like, it is what it is. And I just love that he said, I want to show my Olympic spirit. So that is what he took away from it. And I love that because watching the opening ceremonies, it won't surprise you that, I bawled my eyes out for the first 30 minutes. So I was really glad it was raining. So it wasn't that
30 minutes. Okay.
Listen, Spencer. All right. Yeah, I didn't cry.
I mean, if you cried at like Celine or something, fine. But like,
why is everyone saying that? I was like, Celine, it's nice. Anyway, we'll talk
because we've been talking to Scott Bregman, who will like
oh
cry
my
at Celine
God.
Dion till the cows come home.
It's like that's all that matters. Anywho, so this is the thing. The Olympics is bigger than your one routine and a one individual athlete. And there were several athletes that I talked to today, one of which was Jake Jarman, Air Pirate. He said he's embracing Air Pirate, Spencer. He's into it now. He's embracing it. We're going to make it happen. And he also said just watching, they didn't do the opening float down the Seine, but he watched the athletes went and they went outside and like encouraged the other athletes who were going and celebrated them. And he said it was just really special to see all these athletes together. And it really gave me this feeling of like unity. And it really like made me feel really good to watch that. And I was like, yes, this is about a bigger thing than just the sports, even though we're going to get into the nitty gritty and talk about all the sports stuff. But I think
mostly what we learned from the opening ceremonies is this is about tributes to threesomes, which was obviously the best part of the opening ceremony.
The best part of the opening ceremony. But we'll get to that later. Okay. Qualifying. The reserve issue, because this has been an ongoing thing. So let's talk about it. This is
a great thing. A fix is that now on the list of qualifiers for the event final, they are listing athletes with two different statuses. Some are like Reserve 1, Reserve 2, Reserve 3, which they've always done. They're also listing NOC Reserve, which is someone who's been two per country out of the final. But if they're no longer two per country out of the final, then they can get in. This was the issue at World Championships last year when they were supposed to put Lian Wang into the final because she wasn't into the vault final because she wasn't two per country anymore. And they didn't because she wasn't on the reserve list because she had been two per country when they made the reserve list. So it's a fix. This is a good solution. They've listed it. It's all there. Everyone should know what to do. So this is very good.
I love this. They were like, administrative errors, we can fix this. Paperwork, an easy fix. I'm so pleased about this because you guys remember what happened with Lian Wang and Worlds and all of that stuff. So this is great. I'm so pleased. I don't know if you saw this, but I just wanted to, if fact checker, you can be ready to show this, but the men are really doing the most here to reach their target audience. And by that, I just mean thirsty humans. And Reese McClanagan, Pommel God, posed with nothing but a pillow, saying he was getting his vitamin D, which is important for the Irish. And now we have this, which is no, we do not have this. It is not weird. It's
great. It was a live broadcast.
It is live. This is great. Yeah. It's highlighted. There you go. I just put it in the chat. It is Lee Junho from South Korea. Mm-hmm. And can you describe what he's doing in this?
He has his grip in a mouth. Is that what I'm seeing right now?
Yeah. And he's looking down, eyes up.
You're biting your grip. What's wrong with that?
He's biting his grip. It's, I would say it's a little bit of a thirst trap. That's what I'm saying. Okay. And good for him. Yeah. I mean, it's France. And what we learned from the opening ceremonies is France loves a thirst trap, especially in a library. So the other thing about this competition was how amazing the start of tonight was. It started hours and hours ago. It started with 2:15s in the first rotation. Jake Jarman
gotta get a 15 now.
You have to. Jake Jarman got over 15 on vault, and then Nedorashik got his 15 over 15 too. And I was like, "This meet's gonna be great. This is why people should come see men's gymnastics in person." It was exciting.
Yeah, it was. And then it was this exciting first rotation, and then we had that break, and then we went to the second rotation, which had both China and Japan, and they were like, "Remember that first rotation where those losers were competing? We're gonna get 1 billion points." Like Jung Bo-hung had such an incredible qualification competition and also did not do perfectly. And that is the kind of thing where you look at what did he score? 90 million, 88,597. And you're like, that's so tough to beat. And heading into this competition, it was kind of like, Hashimoto has won more than Jung, but it has been this rivalry. Jung hasn't been at some of the major competitions like the last Olympics when he wasn't selected, or last year at Worlds when he went to the Asian Championships instead, or the Asian Games, sorry, instead of Worlds. And that was, so then, we were denied the rematch again. And the thing is, like, Jung Bo-hung probably has, if both Jung and Hashimoto have perfect days, I think Jung has the higher scoring potential, but Hashimoto has more of the titles, more of the wins so far. But today we saw that, when you hit, it's going to be an incredible score, and it's an incredible day, and you can make mistakes and it's fine, because in that Simone kind of way where, like, you can have kind of an off landing and it literally doesn't matter at all because look at your score. And that's what we saw from him today, and that was also really exciting.
Also, I want to go back to talk about Ukraine for a second, because it was not going good. And then, especially for Kovtun everywhere today, but then they had maybe like the greatest vault rotation since Oklahoma NCAA vault rotation 2019, Brennan Dowell's last year, where everyone stuck every single vault. It was nuts. That vault rotation was hands down the best from any team. They did so amazing. I don't know if the scores reflect that, but in my feelings about the joy of
they got some good scores
good
for some very good vaults. Yeah.
But this is why we need event medals. Team event
we have
medals.
Apparatus medals.
I know, but like for the team. Listen, I'm not going to stop about this. I'm going to make this happen.
I believe you.
Other things that are noteworthy that happened tonight. Max Whitlock hit Palma Horse. That's big. He's in the final.
Qualified in third place. 15.166 to the 15.2s from Nedorosik and McLennan. So it's right close.
And McLennan, it's just like Reese's execution is so perfect that I feel like that's his magic sauce. Mahdi Olfati from Iran.
Mm-hmm.
With a Cheeto, two cheetahs, not one, two cheetahs on his Leo.
You did say Cheeto the first time.
That would be the best.
Just like the Leo with Cheetos all over it. Get that sponsorship money.
If you can have Cheetos, why not Cheetos? Why not Cheetos? Right. So anyway, you remember from Asian Games, the hugest vault ever. I demand the people in charge of the cameras, OBS, NBC, any rights holders, the Olympic Channel, please make a comparison, a Simone height-o-meter like they had for Maroney versus Kohei London, the who was higher, spinny, height thing that they did comparison. We need that for his Yurchenko double pike versus Simone, because it's so freaking high. It's nuts. Like, if Christian Thomas and Simone had a baby, this would be the height and the form of this crazy Yurchenko double pike. It's insane. It's only in the 14s, and I was like, but bonus? Because he took a big step, but like, hello, did you see that? It was insane. I also, oh my God, I have so much more to tell you guys. But I do want to make the point of when there are questions about what we see versus what the athlete can communicate about the truth of what happened for them. Like, just seeing something on TV versus being here in person and be able to go to the mix zone and ask the athlete, we saw this, what actually happened? What did the coach say? What did the judges say? All of that. This is so important. And this is why we travel to these events. This is why we get a credential to go to things like the Olympic Games and World Championships, and then why we've been doing this for almost 12 years now. And we could not do that without support of our Club Gym Nerd members, who are amazing. And we are so grateful for them, to them, for them, all of it. And I want to tell you guys about something that happened behind the scenes, which is the kind of things that you can only see if you are in the arena and you can't see on TV, which is why the Japanese men's team was having a strong hand gestures discussion with some people on the floor during the competition today. Kathy Johnson would have been so proud about this conversation. But first, I want to tell you how our Olympic coverage works. So Spencer watches every single detail from home online and makes the GIFs and the spreadsheets, which is very important. I watch in the arena and then interview the athletes, coaches, officials, find out the deets of what happened. Then I fly to the metro as fast as I can, get back here to record. And then club members can watch us record live and ask us questions live. And then after that's done, I edit everything and I put up the public version and then the audio version, a full version for members too. And the headlines are always available to everyone. And then each episode continues with our coverage in the bonus behind the scenes section, which is the extra for Club Gym Nerd members, because they're the ones that support us and send us here and make it possible for us to bring you this special behind the scenes information. So thank you to all of them. And this is where our journey with our general coverage works. This is where it ends. And this is where we go to the behind the scenes stories.
Yeah,
so
okay.
if you want more behind the scenes stories, check out Club Gym Nerd at GymCastic.com. So, the Japanese men's team. Let me tell you what happened.